Okay, so all right. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Salon Stories, the podcast where we dive into the journeys, the lessons, and the lives behind the people in our amazing industry. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by the really lovely Aileen Marr, a powerhouse in the hairdressing world with decades of experience. Aileen ran her own successful salon before moving to work onto full-time education, and she is a qualified hair, scalp, and wig specialist. She's doing amazing work supporting salons and clients through what can be a really emotional and sensitive experience. Aileen is such a positive force in our industry, so I cannot wait for you to get to know her. So, Aileen, welcome to Salon Stories. I'm so excited to have you here to actually sit down and chat to you because I feel like we're always rushing somewhere anytime I get to see you. So,
Great.
my
Thanks a
first
million.
no, I'm really delighted. So tell me first, where did you grow up and what was life like for you before you started to get into hairdressing?
Well, I suppose before I started getting into hairdressing, I seemed to be hairdressing all my life. My mom tells me I was only 4 and 5 and I was going to the hairdresser with her and I was like literally, organizing all her trays and all the rest. So I think it's always been in my blood. I love what I do. I think I was only about 15 or 16 while I was in school
Oh,
and I'd Saturday jobs. So I always, I think I've always, Hairdressing has always been there.
yeah, it's in your DNA.
Yeah,
So, well,
We're Tralee, Kerry people, and we moved up to Newbridge. So we're living in Newbridge like for all our lives.
wow, Kerry's so beautiful. And so is Newbridge, but anytime I go to Kerry, it's like I remember the first time I went there, I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. It was like a painting. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, you're lucky to be from there. Was there a particular person who inspired you or encouraged you to get into hairdressing? Can you remember?
Um, I suppose just there was one lady in sort of a friend of my mom's who was a really good hairdresser, and I go and sort of just watch sort of her hairdressing and everything else. And then I sort of throughout the years, I suppose I built up my salon. I opened up my salon. I went off to Australia for a year. And I spent a year sort of traveling around Australia. I got to work in the salon in Australia in Kirkcaldy and Staines and it was like Harrods of London used to own the store. And up in the very top store of the salon, it was all glass and a big, huge glass roof. And you'd all the members of parliament coming in, and the lady who owned the salon, it was very like at the time dressing hair, very bouffant, and everything was. And I learned so much from that lady Alice. Oh my God. So I came home then, opened my own salon, and I really got into session working,
Mm.
upstyling. I did 11 front covers for magazines. And I think she was a huge inspiration in that sort of dressing hair as such. But within the
Cool.
industry, there's fabulous people. I think one lady who we all know that doesn't probably get as much recognition as she should, Mabel Healy Hart. I love
Oh,
Mary.
absolutely.
And over the years, she's helped so many salons. Over the years, I've just rang her and asked her a question. When I had the big salon, like we 28 staff at one time, and but she was always there for everyone. So I think, she needs recognition within the industry.
Absolutely. Mavel's an absolute legend. She's so
Yeah.
cool and she's so creative. I love the looks that she creates still. She's amazing.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
yeah, a big hero of mine too. Tell me, how'd you end up in Australia? How did that happen?
I always sort of decided I'd train, like when I'm a training over, and I decided we always wanted to travel. It's my seven John. I was only like 23, 24. Head off to Australia for a year and got really good jobs. Now, at the time, oh God, I was only just saying, I was working on Grafton Street in Dublin
Hmm.
and, decided to go off to Australia. And I went for interviews in Australia and I couldn't believe it. Like, their standard of work, I would say, isn't as good as ours. So when I went for an interview, they were going, "Oh, we give you this guy Stefan. He had an island, and he would have been sort of the Peter Marks of Australia. So he'd like 50, 60 salons. I'll give you your own shop and you manage the shop." And
Whoa.
that's one, I'm just qualified. Like I'm not, I didn't have enough experience to manage a shop but I went in working and I was like, oh my God, you'll end up correcting work. So
Yeah.
it gave me a great experience. We did a lot of traveling. We did Australia, we did Singapore, we did huge amount of traveling, and then came home and opened up straight away, opened up my salon Shades and Shapes. And like I was in business then for 25 years.
Wow. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. You just moved straight home and then opened a salon. You didn't work in more salons in Dublin or anything. Or you just went
No, I did
straight
all
to.
my I was on Grafton Street before I opened up. And I always kind of said I'd come home. And we came home, I believe it or not, all right. We came home and within 12 weeks, we planned our wedding and we opened the salon. All in 12 weeks.
See, well done.
Yeah,
That's
but the
that's
salon was
incredible.
at the time, 1991. Hairdressing was so big, and hairdressing, the salon just grew. It was, we had a great sort of business for years. My sister was a beautician, and we opened up together. And oh, I'd say we'd done every wedding. I'm meeting people now. You did my daughter's wedding. You did my wedding, and I'm like,
Ah,
we would have been like the wedding specialist, the really big business, for years.
wow, such a cool story. Well done. That's amazing. And tell me then, how did you end up specializing in scalp health and hair loss and all that sort of thing? What sparked your interest in that?
Yeah, I tell you, while I sort of grew from one shop, then I opened a second and a third shop, and then I went, I'm chasing my tail.
Hmm.
I actually think I was making more money in one shop. You sort of
Yeah.
expand and you get too big too quickly, probably.
Hmm.
So then I decided, like, bring it all back to the one shop and really, go back to, I had to make a plan. My brother-in-law is an accountant, and he always said to me, what's your 5-year plan? Where are you
Hmm.
going? So I didn't never want to be an old hairdresser. I had this thing. I if I kept going the way I was going, I was that busy and that, I was going to be in a Zimmer frame cutting hair.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a plan. So I was 45 and I kind of said, I'm going to do something when I'm 50. I'm going to sell my business when I'm 50 and I'm going to, so I went back to college. I did my teaching qualifications. I did my assessor's award. I did my IQA award. So I became an examiner and an IQA going into colleges, examining colleges. My other sister got involved in the business, who was a business manager,
Right.
and she ran the salon. I then went working with David Donlan with Joyco and Alpha Par, and I really seen one of my ladies, my Saturday client, right? This lady's 4:15 every Saturday. And she came into me one day, same age as myself, and she came into me one day and she says, Aileen, I have cancer. Will you
Oh,
look after me? And I was going like, yeah, of course I will. And here I was doing fabulous cuts, fabulous colors, thought I was, untouchable, brilliant hairdresser. And next thing I went, oh God, I don't know how to look after this client.
yeah.
And I brought her to shops, like I literally went in her Jeep, we drove around Dublin, we drove around, and I was appalled that big shops, what they were offering. And, so I started researching how to get a wig for this lady. How do I go? How we should look after this lady. So then I just thought I went out, I cut her hair off, but what I did was I cut her hair in different stages,
Hmm.
right? And this is where I got hair, scalp, and wig therapy, right? Because a lot of people, what do? They go somewhere, they buy a wig. They go to their hairdresser, they cut the wig off. They're sitting
Hmm.
there crying, their sisters are crying. It's a horrible
Yeah.
situation. Where when somebody comes to me, and this is what I teach in my training courses, we want to make that a nice experience for that client. So what we do is we bring her in, we cut her hair in like maybe 3 or 4 different cuts and show her what her
Brilliant.
hair is going to be looking like. So it's reverse therapy in a way. So you're giving her like when I get her to take pictures with her phone then. So say we might cut it up and then we might kind of leave it long and top and cut an undercut. Then we might do a pixie cut. Then we might do a Sinead O'Connor. So you're doing all these different cuts, letting her take a picture on her phone of herself with the different cuts. And then she's like, when I'm shaving it then or putting on the wig, she go, like, Jesus, will I look like that by Easter? By Christmas, I'll
Oh.
have my hair back. So instead of it being a situation where it's sad and it's very positive.
Hmm.
And so it's really I'm very passionate about this, and so I sold my salon then at 50, and I went full time into education.
Brilliant.
I designed my own online program, and now I have the hub. But I just love, I think every hairdresser, like I could have just done this and done it myself, but I think
Hmm.
I'm passionate that within the industry, every salon should be able to offer this service, should be able to look after that one client.
1,000,000%. That's so beautiful. I really love that story, and I really love
Yeah.
how you've done it, because years and years and years ago, this is back in like, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, I started doing wigs for people with like I used to do a lot of hair extensions for people with chemotherapy, alopecia, medical reasons like that. But I found I wasn't strong enough for it, like mentally. I remember one day sitting in my car, I finished doing a girl's hair, and I just sat in the car for 2 hours and just sobbed because I wasn't able to deal with it. Now I was a lot younger, but I found it very, very tough. And I think the way that you've come at it is just so gorgeous. I'm really,
Yeah, I
really
think if you come
impressed.
at it with that a different angle, that when the lady's leaving, she's like, "Oh my God."
Oh
And
yeah.
only the other day, there was a lady was getting cold cap, and she decided wasn't getting the cold cap, and she came to me, and I got her piece. And she went back to her doctor. The oncologist was talking to her about the cold cap, thinking it was her own hair, like, and it
I
was a wig
love
that was on her.
that.
So I do think it's all about we as hairdressers know about the texture of someone's hair. We know about the
Yeah.
density and it's very, very important to match their hair up with the right texture, with the right density. It's not just buying wigs and plonking them on somebody's head. It's really there's so much more in it. And that's with our training programs, it's to give the knowledge
Mhm.
and to have that understanding of to measure. Lady came in recently to me and she'd bought a wig and a friend of mine, another client, had sort of said, you need to go to Aileen. She'd spent 2.5 grand for this piece.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to put it on. Like she knew nothing. There's ear tabs there to make it sort of tighter to your head. It was too big on her. She didn't know how to put it on. It needed to be thinned out. That's so wrong. So
Yeah,
I
it
know
is.
as hairdressers, we genuinely, I know I've always built such a relationship with my clients. I love my clients. And I think as hairdressing, I even see Aoife going into it now, like, it's so important to have that lovely manner with your clients and enjoy your clients. So we care about our clients. So we're the perfect people to look after them in a situation like that.
Absolutely. And I think wigs are amazing nowadays. Like I have had some clients have gone through chemotherapy and cancer, and friends and family, and like the wig is nearly the fun bit. The wig is the bit where like your hair looks better than it did in the first place. Like wigs are incredible nowadays. Like I
Yeah,
wear wigs
yeah.
myself sometimes. I absolutely love them. So what keeps you motivated then on the hard days? Because obviously with this sort of work, sometimes there is hard days. Is it the customers? Is it that feedback that you get from them?
It is. Genuinely, someone's leaving and they're hugging you and they're sending you. And I'd always sort of text someone the next day, say, "Listen, are you putting it on okay? And you feeling comfortable?" And they're contacting you. Like watch on it, look at any of my reviews. Like it's the
Mhm.
family members are like going, "Oh my God!" Like I don't advertise. The amount of hairdressers out there that you know I don't advertise. I don't have to advertise because I'm that busy fitting pieces, that kind of way. And I would never, I think it's so wrong. There's companies out there putting clients' faces out there,
Oh,
with toppers and pieces. And I would never do that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very personal space. But yeah, what motivates me is, and I suppose the fact Aoife now wants to get into the industry.
Yeah.
My daughter's home. Yeah, you met Aoife. She did your training and she's loving all of this.
Brilliant.
And like she did a degree in psychology and sociology, and now she wants to be a hairdresser. Like she's, "Mommy, why didn't you train me like years and years ago?" I was telling her not to do hairdressing, go off to college, get your degree.
That's so funny. That's yeah, because I think Aoife's one to watch. I think she's amazing. Just for background, I've trained Aoife in hair extensions. I think she's fantastic, a fantastic hairdresser. So how does it feel to see her following in your footsteps now? Because obviously she did want to go into psychology. Are you proud? Are you happy that she's in the industry?
I am, and I suppose I'm happy the fact she found it herself. Now,
Hmm.
she probably hairdressing since she was 12, like really, because when she was in school, she'd be in the salon and she'd be shampooing and cleaning and you know what I mean? So she naturally would have the flair, but I suppose I talked her out of it for years. So she's kind of fallen into it herself. So she was never pushed into it in any way, which is good.
Right. And why would you talk her out of hairdressing?
Good question. I think it's hard work.
Yeah, it is.
Like it is hard work. I'm lucky that I've probably reinvented myself several times.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's important for hairdressers. And I think, I think it's important not to be the old hairdresser. And
Yeah.
that's why I find this education that we do. I always say to the salon rang me up and I have a young girl, and I said, it's more suited probably to the more mature stylist, the
Yeah.
hair loss side of it, because
Yeah.
a little bit more better understanding of your clients and
Million
sympathy and
percent.
empathy in the right manner.
Mm-hmm.
You
Absolutely.
know,
Because that story
yeah,
that I told you about me crying in my car, I was like 21 and I just wasn't able for it. So I 100% agree. And when you're saying about a whole old hairdresser, like an old hairdresser is in her like 40s, because I always say like somebody in the hairdressing industry in her 40s or 50s, we're more like somebody in her 60s or 70s physically because our bodies are destroyed. Like
ah,
it's hard
totally.
work.
Tell me about it.
So do you ever see you and Aoife collaborating on anything?
Yeah, I could see she wants to kind of go down your route, like the extensions and that. The salons, I do a few clients, and I look after a lot of clients with wigs and toppers and that. Yeah, I'm actually making my little studio. She's pushing me out. We're doing at the moment a little bit renovations that we're making the little private studio a little bit bigger, so it'll kind of cooperate. The two of us work very well together, so yeah, I think it will be.
Isn't that so lovely? Yeah, I love that. And is Aoife your only child or do you have more?
I have a 22, Eve is 26, 22-year-old son. He's doing
Nice.
electrical engineering, so
Not hairdressing then.
no, 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 Jesus.
So I'm all about I always have these like quotes or mantras that I live by. My current one is, and I think as an educator it's so important to constantly keep educating yourself. So my current one is the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you earn. That's what's constantly going on in my head. I'm always doing courses. I never stop. My partner's always like, please, you don't need to do another course, but I do. So do you have a quote or a mantra that stuck with you or anything like that?
Very, very similar. And this is something I would have always quoted right through the years. If you think you know it all, it's time to give it up.
I
Because,
love that.
I'm sort of well in the industry, but, I'm constantly like yourself. I'm still doing training programs. I'm constantly researching products. Only this year there I set up the educational hub,
Mhm.
and that sort of support for the hairdressers that I've trained. A lot of companies come to me and I want you to work with me and I want to do the amount of jobs I've been offered is unbelievable.
Mhm.
Um, and sales and everything. I don't want to be sales. I don't want to be, an educator for a certain company because then you become sales. And what I was saying to them, if I really love a product and if I really sort of believe in a product, will you come on board with me? So within the hub, if salons went to buy maybe certain toppers, certain pieces, they could be getting like an extra 30% discount. So it's been working really good, and I do one-to-one Zooms and monthly newsletters. And as I just said to you, where I got my idea,
I
were we
love it.
Scrabble?
I think it's brilliant, and I can't agree more. Actually, I'm very similar in that I refuse to work with one hair extension
Yeah,
company in particular. I don't want to tie myself to one company for that reason. Like I'm not a salesperson. I am rubbish at sales. I'm so good at my job. I'm brilliant at education. I am terrible at sales. It's my
yeah,
real bad point. But also, like if something goes wrong with one supplier and you're tied to them, that's your
yeah,
whole business that you've built up. So I prefer to just like there's suppliers that I have worn myself. I love their hair, and my clients wear their hair, my staff wear their hair, and then I'll recommend them to my students. And that's the way I work as well. And I think it's a really smart way of doing things. So well done, because as you said, you have been offered jobs by these companies. Yeah, and sometimes people will go, "Would you not work with X, Y, or Z big company?"
yeah.
But no, absolutely not. I agree completely. So if you hadn't gone down the path of hair and education, where do you think you would have ended up?
I think it probably would have been always arty. I
Mhm.
think maybe fashion. I used to sort of, for years back, oh my God, some of my wardrobe. I have a wardrobe in there and I refuse to get rid of it. I used to draw out clothes and make clothes or get my friend to make them then. And
Oh,
arty. So I think I would have always been some of the stuff that I would have worn over the years, my friends would meet up and they'd go like there was a Debs dance now back. You're talking now, Jesus, late 80s, early 90s, and I'm in a trouser suit, a big mad trouser suit, big off the
cool.
flowery thing, and everyone's in like pretty little dresses and the hair up, and I'm half my hair gone, permed here. So I would have always been very arty, very kind of, so I think I probably would have done something art.
I love that. And it's funny, actually, I spoke to somebody else on this podcast actually about it, Phil Smith, and we were talking about how I never saw hairdressing as a creative pursuit when I was a kid. I never saw it like that. And it's such a creative industry, but it wasn't sold to me like that. So I never thought it was for me. Like yourself, I was very arty and I always thought I'd be like a painter or a graphic designer or something. And hairdressing was never on my radar at all, and I fell into it by accident, and I love this industry so much, and I think it is really creative. So it's funny that that's where you would have ended up in fashion. Similar
Yeah,
path.
exactly.
So tell me, hair loss is, as I said, quite an emotional thing for clients and for the people doing the services as well. So how would you tell a salon to introduce these services in a really sensitive but maybe empowering way for their clients as well? Is it that haircut thing that you talked about? Is there any other tips that you'd give a salon?
Yeah, I would think a lot of salons, I think you do need a little private room
Hmm.
or do it on, your day off. I have salon owners now that always had Monday off for close the salon. So now what they're doing is they're opening is their day, the Monday for the salon if they don't have a private room and taking a Tuesday, Wednesday off. Because you
Smart.
can
Yeah.
earn really great money now. And with the government funding for people, it's unbelievable. I've been literally fighting the cuff. So everybody in Ireland gets like 770 euros if you've cancer towards a piece. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
what you earn. You know what I mean? It's fabulous. Up to this, we've been fighting with the government. I even set up a group with private angel investors. So I've had clients
Excellent.
who come to me that they might pull in, they might have a lovely Jeep, but they don't have money to buy a piece. And I have a group of investors like that, angel investors, such people who had cancer themselves, and said, Aileen, please do not let any client ever be stuck. You just have to give us a shout and we'll organize, you know what I mean, funding. There's the Rapunzel out there. So yeah, I would say to salons, get the knowledge, get a little private room, look after the clients. Don't let it be pulling toppers off in front of
Oh,
people, keep it very, very private for your clients. You
yeah.
don't need to be this internet thing of, I've Mary here today for a topper and this is before and this is after. It's so
Mhm.
wrong. That client needs that privacy,
Yeah.
but it's great. It's a great extra revenue to your business. Um,
Absolutely.
it's a fabulous service. If you never to make a penny at it, it's a fabulous, fabulous service. And what you get out of it as a person is fabulous.
Absolutely, 1,000,000%. That's why I love my job so much. I always say that like I would do it for free because I love what I do. I just like you're making other people feel good. That makes you feel good, and it's such a lovely knock-on effect.
It's not a job if you enjoy it. That's what I would have always
Exactly.
said to the kids. If you want to do something, it's not a job.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Like I never feel like I'm at work because it's just I'm just getting to hang out with women, make them feel good, makes me feel good, lovely, and I get paid well. So
Exactly.
So,
What else?
Aileen, what is the best piece of advice that anyone's ever given you, either in your professional or your personal life?
I think to make a plan. I
Hmm.
think to plan what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like
Absolutely.
and I would say to somebody's, I would have been a devil probably years ago when I was younger, rushing into things. I get an idea in my head. You do all these management courses and there's the green person
Hmm.
and red person. And I was always the person that I get something in my head and I'm straight into it. Where, take his backseat, look at your plan, look at what you're doing, make a plan.
Yes.
And that's what I've done over the last probably 10 years, and I've been more successful and probably made a lot more money without the harder work. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like a lot of time you can be busy fool.
Oh yeah.
But I think if you plan things, I would plan my education, plan with the salons, with the hub. Now we have a training program as backup for all the salons. Because you can
Hmm.
do a course, but as you know, they need to go home and practice fitting. And like with your extensions, they have to keep if it's
Million
the head
percent.
in her bedroom there, she's the head out in the salon and she's
Delighted.
practicing and practicing. So we can give them certified and you can
Hmm.
do it, but you have to practice doing it and you have to put things into action.
1,000,000% that. So I always say to my students, the only thing I cannot teach you is practice. You have to do that yourself. Like
Yeah,
I could teach them everything else. But yeah, I think having a plan, that's something that comes up a lot actually. And I find that people that are successful, that's what comes up, is that they make a plan and they stick to it. And sometimes the plan changes and that's okay.
yeah,
But you were saying that your sister is your business manager, and I think that is fantastic. What a great person to have on your team is a business manager, because I find like I wear all the hats myself, and I find it's tough to do those things. And again, it's going back to that thing of like you or learn it with age. When I was young, I had no idea what I was doing with my business. I just started a business. No idea of my plans or my goals or my even overheads or any of that stuff. So I think knowing your plans, knowing your goals, and knowing where you're going in order
yeah,
to get there is so important. So yeah,
yeah.
I
And then
agree a lot with
take a
that.
back seat and look at where you're going. Don't
Hmm.
just go ahead first. Because I think as hairdressers, a lot of the time, we are, even when I plan my online education and I do the education, we're not read write people. We're very visual.
Absolutely.
And, a lot of hairdressers and barbers and people do my course. Oh my God. And I said, go back in. Somebody would, how do I fit that piece again? Go into your staff room, put on the video, watch it, relax. Oh my God, that's so easy. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And none of it is rocket science, but it's just planning it, watching it, and just so to know your audience, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Can't agree more. So looking back on your career, what is the proudest moment so far?
Oh my God. Do you know what it would be? Which was a very, very hard decision. And I talked about this last night. I think giving up my salon,
Same.
right? Yeah. Because I
Absolutely same.
at the time it was like, why am I selling? Why am I? People were like, oh, you're very successful business, you're doing great. What am I? But I knew I wanted to do something different. I knew I wanted to educate. I knew you can't do everything. And to sell the salon was it was the hardest decision to
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
But the minute I remember that one night, I said, I'm doing it. And my husband said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm doing this. The relief, the pressure, just and then the success I've got from that and planning
Yes.
everything and doing everything. Yeah. So when I look back now, it was a very tough thing to do, but I was proud
Yeah.
that I did this. Yeah.
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I'm exactly the same. That's so
Very
funny. That
good.
is the best thing I ever did was close my salon, and it was the scariest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
So I ran a salon in Harold's Cross in Dublin for like from like 2003 until COVID. And then COVID hit, and I wasn't excited to reopen it. I was kind of like, because I'd done hairdressing for like 20 something years at that stage. I'd booked out fully all the time for hair extensions, big long waiting list for clients. Everything was going amazing, but I just wasn't excited to reopen. And I'd always kind of taught hair extensions on the side of the salon, but I never had time for classes because I was too busy doing hair extensions. And it wasn't until COVID, when COVID hit, was my first time off since I was 17. And I kind of sat back and I went, I really dragged my heels. And then I remember I kind of pivoted. Instead of reopening the salon, I did a postgraduate degree for a while in UCD because I was like really dragging my heels. And then there was a lady I met, she's from Wicklow. Her name's Margaret Hochter, and she is an I love that woman so much. She's a lunatic. She's a sheep farmer from Wicklow, and she's also a lecturer in UCD and a few other places. And she said to me, Melissa, quitting is for winners. Sometimes stopping is the best thing you can do. And it almost gave me permission because I felt like I had to run my salon forever because that's what I was good at and it's what I always did. And that was such a light bulb moment for me to be able to go, hang on, I can stop. I can just close my salon and reopen as the academy. And it is the best thing I have ever done in my life. Like, I love teaching so much. And I
Yeah.
still have some clients, like I still kept on a lot of my old clients that have been with me for, decades. But it's the best thing I ever did. But I understand that it is very, very scary, and well done for taking that leap because, yeah, I've been there. I know what that feels like.
And the amount of salons have rang me since, like only recently, a lovely girl. Um, I'm thinking of doing this. Like, what will I do? You know what I mean? As well, it's your decision to
Oh,
make,
yeah.
but I could just give them my experience. But
Mhm.
I think because the salon's doing well, and you kind of think you should be,
Yeah.
just keep doing it. Yeah. No. So
And
I think
people would
that
tell
would
you
be
you're
part of
mad.
the. That would be a proud moment, the fact that I did it and it was successful.
I love that answer. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and hopefully it inspires not other people to close their salons. I'm
Yeah.
not saying everyone should run out and do that. So we're going to read a Reddit Am I the Asshole story. So you can sit back and relax. I'm going to read you a little story and then we'll discuss it afterwards and we'll decide
Good.
together if the person is an asshole or not. So this story is, am I the asshole for refusing to cut a client's extremely long hair? So I'm a hairstylist. I had a mum book her daughter in for a trim and a colour with me. I'm not their usual stylist. The stylist they usually go to is on holidays, and I was recommended to them by a friend. When the mum booked the trim and colour in, she specified that her daughter had long hair and asked if it was okay for me to handle. The receptionist said yes because I have a lot of clients with waist length hair. Waist length is usually the longest hair I will cut. I've never had a client with hair longer than this. Due to issues with my knee, I can't kneel down for long. I'm awaiting surgery. When they turned up for the appointment, the daughter had her hair up in a bun, so I couldn't see the full length of her hair. The mum thanked me for being able to fit her daughter in, and she said when their usual stylant isn't available, it can be difficult for her to get her daughter an appointment due to her hair length. When the daughter sat in my chair, I asked her to take her hair down so I could brush it through before we started on her ombre colour. When she took her hair down, I noticed it was much longer than expected. I asked her how long her hair was, and she said it was knee length. She brushed she brushed her hair back so that it was all going down the back of the chair and well past the length I was comfortable cutting at. I would have had to kneel down to do the colour and the cut on her hair. I waved the mum over and I told the daughter to take off the gown. I apologised to the mum and told her that I would not be able to cut her daughter's hair due to its length. I explained that it was much too long for me to cut and that I could not kneel down to cut her hair. Understandably, the mum was upset and that I was refusing to cut the daughter's hair. She demanded the booking fee back. I informed her that the 50 quid booking fee was non-refundable and that she would have been told this at the time of booking. She then demanded to speak to the manager of the salon and I told her I would get the owner. The owner of the salon did refund her the money. She told me that I shouldn't have taken the booking if I couldn't cut hair that long. I told her that the length had never been specified to me, that the receptionist was just told long, and that the long hair in her area is usually no longer than waist length. She knows I can't kneel without being in pain. The mum has since been writing on the Facebook page of the salon complaining that I refuse to cut her daughter's hair because she can't actually cut long hair. I feel really bad that the mum is upset about this, but at the same time, it was never specified how long the daughter's hair actually was. Am I the asshole for refusing to cut extremely long hair? So, Aileen, what are your first thoughts when you heard this story?
Right, we don't want clients like that. No, she had to, don't do anything you're not comfortable with.
Absolutely.
And see if we're going into here this and now, that's one of the things. First things I set her down and said,
Hmm.
you know, don't do anything that you're not comfortable with. Do what you can do, you know, totally.
Absolutely. And I love that Aoife's generation actually do have boundaries and stuff with clients. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And you know what, you're right, because I think years ago we would have maybe, do you know what I mean? We
Yeah,
were thrown into it. We were such a busy salon back, in the day, and you just sort of, yeah, you know what I mean? It's the experience, I suppose, teaches you that too.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
would
Have
say
you
to her, only do what you can do. Do not be bullied into doing anything, do not just do what you're trained to do and what you can do. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it.
absolutely, yeah. Have you ever had a client request something that didn't sit right with you?
Oh God, have I? I think I did, yeah. Oh yeah. Back in the day, right? So remember people going back now, perms and colors.
Yeah.
And I would never do like a perm and a color in the one
Yeah.
day. You know what I mean? But there was salons that would do it. And I was like, no, your integrity of your hair. You know what I mean? You get your perm and you leave it. Now I won some award back now. This is going in the early 90s of I sold the most perm lotion in Leinster. So this was like
Wow.
a Kildare salon. Oh yeah. Back in the day, like it was a Revlon sensor perm. So it was called a computer perm. But there was a little box there that you plug somebody into. It was do nothing like compared to computers. But we sold, I was a queen of perm, like, do you know what I mean? I would have done like so much perm. But I would not, I would refuse to do a perm if the hair wasn't going to take it. Like, what perm lotion does, it's such a chemical, you know what I mean? But I would refuse perm. Yeah, I would have. Do you know what I mean? Or I remember one lady one day like refused. And then I sort of said to her, listen, she wasn't, she was arguing with me. And I said, look, I'm not doing it for you. You know what I mean? I'm just not.
Yeah, you're
And you
right.
prefer to, so that story, you prefer to somebody give out that you didn't do it rather than someone say you give out and you did
Oh
it
yeah.
and it was wrong.
Yeah, that's what I teach my students. I always say I'd rather it's a quick couple of hundred quid in your pocket, but in the long run, it's actually going to damage your reputation. So you're better off not to do
The
it. So
damage that they would do to you for doing a wrong job is like, yeah, yeah.
absolutely, especially nowadays with the internet and all that. I didn't have the internet when I started. I've just remembered a mad story actually that I think I blocked out of my brain, but it's just like come back in now. And I remember years ago when I first moved back to Ireland and I was working in a salon in Dublin, but I was doing hair extensions mobile in the evening. And this guy rang me and he said that he wanted me to do his girlfriend's hair. What was it? It was like pink and gold and blonde for her birthday as a surprise. And I was going, "Oh God, does she know about this? Like, is this just like that's a big change to a woman's hair without her knowing?" And I said, "I don't even know if I could do it. I'd have to see her. Like, she'd have to come in for a consultation." And then he asked if he could meet me in a pub in Finglas and give me a physical photograph of this woman. So like, so I ended up I ignored him anyway. Like he kept ringing and I ignored him. Like to be honest, I thought I was on a hidden camera show because of the next bit. Because one day I was driving and I accidentally answered the phone to him, not knowing it was him, and he wants to book in. And he said, "I'm just wondering what I'll be doing while you're doing her hair." And I was like, "I don't know. It's going to take a few hours, so go have lunch or a cup of tea or something like that." And then this is like in their house, and he said, because I want a really big surprise. So could I be in the room, but maybe I could be under a blanket while you do her hair?
Oh, for heaven's sake, a nut job.
That's the maddest one I've ever had. So yeah, I obviously blocked that man, but I'm still not sure now to this day whether that was like a hidden camera show or something because
It sounds
it
like
was
it.
it was so wild. So going back to the girl with the really long hair and her mum, what do we think? Do we think that the stylist is an asshole? Do we think that the person that booked is? Are they both?
No, the person who booked it, the mother, like she shouldn't be
Mm.
pushing the stylist under pressure like that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think absolutely that the person who booked and didn't tell them is probably a light asshole in this situation. But I think as well, refusing to give the booking deposit, I know it's used to keep space, but I feel like there was kind of cross wires there, because they
Yeah.
didn't do the service. And like I always say deposits are so important. I don't know in that case if I would have given the deposit. I think I might have, depending on the client, and how upset they were. And obviously, that's very uncomfortable for the young girl, God love her. So I think in that case, for the €50 to make everything okay, so she could go somewhere else, I probably would have given the deposit.
Yeah, sometimes you'll do that just kind of supposed to keep the peace, to keep, you know what I mean? But obviously by the mother, if she was on, giving out about them anyway, was she always
Yeah.
going to give out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, knee-length hair is pretty unusual. Although saying that, I always get really jealous of when I see these young girls with this gorgeous, long, perfect hair, and I go, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful." But then I realize it's because they're like 5 foot tall, so their hair,
Yeah.
their hair's like the same length as mine. So, but knee-length hair is pretty impressive. Okay, so tell me what's next for you. Have you any exciting projects coming up or goals maybe for 2025?
Well, this year has been a bit mad. I did have a skiing accident. I'm here in a big boot.
Oh
I had a
yeah.
skiing accident. Yeah, we went to Austria skiing at Christmas. And the first day of the holidays, I yeah, tore the tibia,
Oh
tore the
God.
ACL and the back of my knee and the tibia bone. So two screws in my knee. So that's been surgery the next day. No, everything's been grand. Came home, everything's good. Now I've been doing my physio like mental, trying to, thank God for
Yeah.
all my online work. It really gave me great time
Yeah.
to do all my online work and everything. And there last week I tore the calf muscle on the same leg. So
Oh,
overdoing, yeah, I'm telling everyone to take calm and make a plan. And here I am,
oh,
like booting into all the exercise. So I'm back in a boot. So
you poor
this
thing.
year
I'm
has
so
been a bit.
sorry.
No, no, no. This year's just been a bit mad, like kind of this kind of thing. They're going to bring me back in and remove the pins then. So
Oh,
I love my golf. I have been playing golf, so golf's
cool.
gone now for a while. I go to
Oh,
art class every Thursday. I love art. I've been doing all of that. Do you know what I mean? Really to develop my hub business wise. I've been doing a lot of work with Jude Bale from the UK. She's a
cool.
fabulous girl. She specializes all in the PMP and the
Yeah.
S&P. She's really fabulous. So she's coming over. We're doing another big training program, and
Cool.
it's for to go more depth into scalp. A lot of hairdressers, while we've done scalp education with them, but I think if you never wanted to do all it is, like I don't want to offer the service of PMP, you're taking somebody's blood and you're injecting it.
Hmm.
But it's very important for us to know once you're running
Yeah.
a scalp clinic, you have to know about all of the different services that are out there.
Yeah.
I've been doing a huge amount of research and training into all of these other services. Same with the S&P, you're tattooing, somebody's
Hmm.
scalp area. So we're running a really good training program. So we've been putting the curriculum for all of that together.
Great.
That's 2 weeks' time.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's really good. We're also doing a lot of work with our oncology. I do all the oncology with Louise O'Loughlin. So with Image Skillnet, we have an oncology training program. So I've just been really busy planning all the training and developing the hub, which has been brilliant.
Fantastic. And yeah, as you said, aren't you lucky that it is online with your leg? Because like I always say that when I was doing hairdressing, I was like, I'm one broken arm away from being homeless, like it's because it's
Oh,
such a physical thing. So, and in a way, I guess you're lucky it was your leg and not your arm, but
totally. And Aoife came home right at the right time. Like
yeah,
literally, she came home and she's been a great help. So no, it's grand, and I'll get there. But you kind of think, you
yeah.
don't realize, like, really, I suppose I've never had broken anything or an
No, me
injury.
neither.
So
God love you. That's
yeah.
so so
But I've been
some
busy doing all my
good.
research for my training programs, developing new curriculums. I just got my Fab Service Star there for this year, which is fabulous. A lot of work in that.
Well done.
So no, been busy.
Good. Yeah, it all sounds like positive, good, exciting stuff.
Mm.
So some quick fire questions for you. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Typical hairdresser.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite product or a product that you couldn't live without?
Uh, Personally, my lipstick. Even if I have
Mm,
no makeup, I love my lips. Do you know what I mean? I love to have my lipstick.
yeah.
Yeah. And then hair products, I suppose. Is it hair products more you mean?
Either
Yeah, no,
can
I
be
just always have a
anything.
lipstick with me. Um, yeah, there's so much in hair products. I think it's just finding the right product to suit your hair type.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your lipstick's always fabulous. So
Thank you.
Um, if you could go back and talk to your younger self who was starting in hairdressing, what advice would you give them?
I suppose it's like we said early, is to make a plan
Hmm.
and don't rush into anything and don't do anything like that story. Like I said to Eva, have your qualifications behind you and be confident before you would do anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
great
I think
advice.
that have all the we're planning Aoife's career now, and we literally have a little program for the whole year, all our training
Wow.
courses. And I said, just do what you can do and do a good job. Be an
Yeah,
expert. This is, yeah, something I think. Be an expert at what you do.
absolutely. Yeah,
And I
no,
think
I
an
think that's
industry
great
expert.
advice.
yeah, be an industry expert.
Brilliant. And that's why Aoife is going to stand out, and that's what's going to make her like really, like as I said, she is one to watch. She has got the natural talent, but I think the fact that she constantly learns and constantly upskills and doesn't do that thing that you were talking about, just thinking that she knows everything and that's it now. Like I was teaching somebody recently, who was doing an apprentice, not the national apprenticeship, just an old school style apprentice, in the country. So I forget where it was. I think it was Roscommon or Mullingar, so one of those. And she said that when she trained, this is in 2023, when she was doing her apprenticeship, they taught her with a tinting cap how to do highlights. So like that's somebody who didn't continue their education and just stopped. Like even I stopped doing hairdressing myself about 10 years ago now just to concentrate on hair extensions.
That's good.
And if I tried to color your hair today, I'd be lost because the industry has moved so much and products have changed and techniques have changed. I'm stuck 10 years ago, so I would need to completely reskill and upskill and do lots of courses in order to do that. So I think, yeah, great advice. Just constantly learn, and that's what I
If
love
you're
about
going to do
Aoife.
something, be the expert at it, and I think that that's important. Yeah.
Hmm.
Whether if you
Right.
want to do, if you want to concentrate in color, be the expert in color. If you want to concentrate in your extensions or the wigs or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. So now in 2025, what does success look like to you, Aileen?
Um, I suppose it's being content in yourself. Maybe that's age too.
Yeah,
But I think it's just when you take a client, you're so confident and happy. And I suppose I do it in my sleep now because I'm educating and I've clients coming from all over the country, like from Kerry, from Galway. Salons, there is some hairdressers that don't necessarily, they've done my training, they might necessarily want to offer the service or they mightn't be able to offer it at this time. But they'd recommend their clients to come to me. So I have clients coming from
brilliant.
all over the country. And, it's so rewarding when you do this and, someone comes into you and they've no hair. And the my lady there this morning and like literally her hairline starts back here. She's walking out the door and, oh my God, the confidence and and you're able to do it without hesitation.
Yeah, it's
Be
fantastic.
confident, be the industry expert. And I suppose that's, yeah, it's confidence in it and that's proud and that's sort of like, accomplishment.
I love that answer. That's gorgeous. So finally, tell me what's the favorite thing that you've watched or read recently?
Right. Oh my God. I'm not a really great telly person,
Right.
right? Aoife has me on White Lotus.
Right.
I'm only starting it now, and I'm kind of took hard to get into, but I'm liking the fashion and the style of it or whatever. But I would sort of sit down. I love my art. I would sit down. There last week I was off, and I would just sit out in the garden and paint. And
Gorgeous.
so I'd be very, if I have free time at all, gardening I love. I'm really sort of I grew everything from seed this year for my garden, and that's a lot of
Brilliant.
time and a lot of work.
Yeah.
And my husband works in a stud farm, so I send him out to the greenhouse in the stud farm, and he's bringing me back all the flowers now. So I'm not getting a lot of time. If I read anything, I'm reading sort of more autobiographies or more
Right.
true stories. I'm not a big fiction, that sort of way. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not a big telly person, yeah. But I love the art,
What's
I love the gardening and everything. So that's
what's
where
your favorite what's your favorite autobiography you've ever read?
oh Jesus. There wasn't so many of them. Mandana was brilliant. I always loved the what was it? Penny Apples. I remember reading that years ago. It was one of my first ones. Um, then I've
And
read
would you
all of your celebrity ones. You know what I mean? Sort of a
yeah,
lot of them can be um you like your Nelson Mandela. That was brilliant. You know what I mean? Sort of other ones, yeah, sort of are businessmen, you know what I mean? Sort of
yeah.
big autobiographies.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
find those really interesting too. Would you read a physical book or a Kindle or is it an audio
Physical
book?
book. I can't read a Kindle. I just like
Really?
I think there's something old fashioned about having a book. Especially if you go on holidays and you've just a book and you turn the pages.
I love books. I have bookworm tattooed on my knuckles. I'm obsessed with books, and I love the smell of them, and I love how they look, and I love collecting them. But God, I love my Kindle as well. I just love being able to read in the dark in bed. It's so nice.
Oh dear. No, even
Yeah.
I'd love even travel books. When we went to Australia and we New Zealand, we did a huge amount of traveling. We did South Africa and everything, but I had books on the countries, and often I'd come back then, and I've
Nice.
yeah, and actually our bathroom, believe it or not, I've there was shelves in the bathroom, and we kind of a jacuzzi bath, and there was shelves, so I started stocking all my little books
Nice.
in
That's
the
lovely.
bathroom, and a lot of yeah, gardening as well. So very
Fantastic.
practical reader, probably, really.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I'm a big gardener as well. I love
Oh, do
gardening. I'm
you?
hoping to get out and garden a little bit today. We've kind of given up on vegetables though, because they're so hard, and we're just so sick of getting like 4 carrots for 3 months' work. So we're on to flowers now, and God, I love the flowers.
Oh, tried the Cosmos. I love now they're annual, you know what I mean? You're not going to have them year out, year in, but they're real dramatic. I think they're real hairdresser flowers. They grow up about 3 or 4 foot and a big flower on it.
Oh, I'll look into
I'm
them.
like you're going to drive in now and it's just summer, another month, you'll see them all over the garden. And I have 13
Gorgeous.
window boxes that I have to keep.
Whoa.
We've kind of cottage, so there's window boxes all over the house. So
It's so
yeah,
pretty though. It's
it
so
is
good. Like they make
lovely.
me so happy. I'm a
Yeah, so
big,
my time,
big
I
fan.
suppose, goes a lot into the garden and the art and that. Yeah.
Good. And that's it. That's important. I think that stuff makes you be able to give back to your students more, I think, and to your clients more when you have time yourself. I'm such a big component of having time for you because like my classes are fully booked all the time and I could teach them 6 days a week, but then I'd be no good to my students. So I prefer to do one group class a week and then some in salons, and then I can give them 150% rather than trying to give them 20% where I'm just, like a robot. So I think time off is really important. That's something I've really learned since lockdown.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
think I would have always, and I was doing a lot of golf as when I was loving the golf. And just to sort of no phone, out there,
mm,
fresh air, and same the garden or anything. You leave the phone plugged in somewhere and just, off I go. So it is good.
it is, yeah. I'm such a fan of leaving my phone at home, bringing the dog for a walk. It's such a good practice to have, I think. So if Aileen, if people are interested in your training, where can they find you?
I suppose log on to the website. I suppose Instagram, Facebook. The website has all the educational hub, has all the information on it. So it's Aileen Marr, hair, scalp, and wig therapy.
Great, and I'll include
Yeah.
links underneath this episode. So, Aileen, thank you so
Ah,
much for
thank
joining
you.
me. It's been so lovely, and thank you for being so honest and sharing so openly with us. I think a lot of people will get a lot out of this. So I hope this episode gave you lots, whether you're just starting out, you're running your own salon, or you're looking to expand your knowledge into new areas like scalp health or wigs fitting. So if you love this episode, don't forget to share it with a fellow stylist who'd enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me and Aileen, and I hope to see you on the next Salon Stories very soon. This episode of Salon Stories is brought to you by the Melissa Hayward Academy. That's me. If you're a stylist ready to level up your skills and finally take the leap into hair extensions, I would love to help. I've trained hundreds of amazing stylists all over Ireland and beyond, and seeing them thrive is honestly my favourite thing in the whole world. So head on over to melissahaywardacademy.com to learn more or connect with me on Instagram or Melissa Hayward Academy on there.